Games, and they were fought to pay respects to dead ancestors, but eventually became public events that were staged by emperors or politicians. Gladiators were named after the Roman sword gladius. They were typically criminals, prisoners of war, or slaves. Others were volunteers who were low-class men who chose to take the status of a slave. When men became a gladiator, they were known as infamous, which was beneath the law and what a respectable citizen was. However, some upper-class men chose to fight in the arena for fun, even if it was against the law. Only a few women ever fought in the arena, and it was for sheer entertainment, just like upper-class men.
Training of gladiators. People searched all over the empire for men that could be gladiators in order to fill up the spots in gladiator school. These gladiator schools were usually located near a stadium or amphitheater. They had a small training area that was seen as well as the nearby amphitheater. The conditions of these schools were similar to prisons with small shell shacks with better food. The men there received great medical attention if they were hurt while fighting at school, because these men were a great investment to the people who found them. The largest school was Ludus Magnus, which is located next to the Colosseum.
Armor of gladiators. Gladiators had a wide range of weapons, which included a short sword. They wore armor and helmets, which showed great workmanship. Sometimes their armor included a family crest. The type of weapons and armor a man had depended on his class. The four classes were Samnite class, which was the most armed group that had a sword or lance and a large square shield. The Thracian gladiator had a curved short sword and a very small round shield to protect them. The Murmillo gladiator was known as fisherman because he had a fish-like crest on his head. The Retiarius had no helmet or armor besides a shoulder padded piece, and their goal was to entangle his opponent in a net and stab him with his trident.
How gladiators fought. When gladiators fought, there was a clear winner and loser. The winners became the darlings of the crowd. Some of the things that the gladiators won included the prestigious palm branch of victory, often a crown, a silver dish heaped with prize money, and perhaps, after years of victories, even freedom. The losing gladiator, if not killed outright, often appealed for mercy by dropping his weapon and shield and raising a finger. It was considered a nice gesture to kill the opponent in battle, because if not, you could possibly meet that person in battle again. Famous gladiators would eventually fight every couple of times a year. As they became more famous, they would often fight less in order to preserve their fame. The most famous gladiator was Spartacus. Spartacus was known for leading an uproar of gladiators and slaves from Capua, which was known for producing the most and best gladiators. Spartacus was a former Roman soldier who was captured and forced to become a gladiator. He and other gladiators escaped from training camp and while fleeing gathered men to form an army. They fought the army of Marcus Licinius Crassus and defeated them in Apula, which was in the south of Italy. Gladiators fought. Gladiators were an opportunity for aristocrats and emperors to show others their wealth. Emperors had them fight to celebrate a military victory or a birthday, to show visitors entertainment, or to distract the community from their everyday problems. They wanted to appeal to all people and made it a bloody event that was a matter of life and death. They fought in massive arenas that were all throughout the empire and could hold thousands of spectators who would come from all over the world to watch. The most famous arena is the Colosseum, which was built by the Roman emperors during the Flavian dynasty. Hi, I'm here with gladiator Alex to talk about his victory today in his battle. Hi, Alex.
Hi, how's it going?
Alex, how do you think you were able to win this battle today?
You know, all of my hard training at the Ludus Magnus really showed off here on the Colosseum today. But just love to thank the god Jupiter to bless me with the good fortune of being able to live today and fighting my opponents on the field.
And going forward in your future battles, what is your plan?
My plan is to play strategic. Can't be too aggressive out there. A lot of great fighters from all around the world. That Rome captured as slaves. So we just gotta play hard, use my head, and gotta be gracious to the gods that are allowing me to participate in these games.
Alex, how does it feel to fight in this Coliseum in front of all these spectators?
It feels amazing. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity to come to the greatest city in the world, Rome, and to fight in front of 50, 60,000 people in one of the most architecturally advanced places the world has ever seen. It's an amazing feeling, and I hope I can relive it every single day that I can.
Thank you, Alex, and we're going to head back to the studio.
Do your sandals keep slipping off your feet or falling apart
your
after
troubles
a battle?
end now.
Now introducing Spartacus Roman Gladiator sandals. These sandals are made of the most durable leather ever fought in and are used by some of Rome's most famous gladiators. But whether it be in the arena or out of the arena, these sandals are a sturdy and comfortable fit and are perfect for any occasion.
I'm Spartacus. If you want to be victorious like me, buy the Spartacus Gladiator sandals for only $9.99. Buy them at the
That was a
Coliseum.
great interview, Erin. And now we're going to talk about Roman architecture with Michelle.
Thanks, Nick. This is the first example of Roman architecture we're going to go over today. This is the cymatium decorative molding based on its upper and lower curves. This type of decorative molding was first used in the Roman theater of Marcellus.
Ancient architecture. Roman architecture is a beautiful form of architecture that has had a great influence on the West over the years. It can be seen all around us, whether it be a large library or someone's house. Roman architecture was greatly influenced by ancient Greek architecture and followed the basic orders that the Greeks used. These orders were called the Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian. They all had curves on the shafts of the columns called flutes. The Doric design was the most simple. It had little to no decoration on the upper part of the column called the capital. The Ionic design was used for small buildings or interiors. It has two curved sections at the top of the column called violets. The Corinthian design was the most elaborate. The molding had many designs and 2 tiers of curled leaves. The Corinthian was the most commonly seen in public buildings. The Romans favored this particular style of column because it was the most decorated with its intricate molding designs. The Romans always looked to impress with their grander style of architecture and thought some of the other Greek columns were too plain. In fact, columns in Rome weren't always necessary to uphold buildings. They are often used for a traditional, elegant look. Some of the columns in the Colosseum, the large Roman amphitheater, were part of the wall and used as decorations. Our second example of Greek architecture are these Tuscan columns. They originated from the Doric columns, and today these columns are used in houses and buildings, and they're a great example of Roman architecture.
This column is influenced by Ionic Roman columns because it has flutes running down it and a swirl at the top before it reaches a square base. This column is influenced by a square Roman Tuscan column because it has a smooth surface with multiple squares at the base.
These columns are adapted from the traditional Doric columns. They have a few differences. For example, they don't have the decorative molding and they don't have flutes. An example of flutes would be here in this planter. This is a flute.
The window is influenced by Roman architecture because it is arc-shaped. The Romans used arches everywhere, including aqueducts, amphitheaters, sewers, palaces, and temples.
However, the Greeks weren't the only ones who influenced Roman architecture. The Romans also learned many valuable techniques from the Etruscans, such as the use of arches and domes. Arches and domes were commonly used in large palaces, basilicas, and temples. For example, the Pantheon, a temple dedicated to the gods in Rome, is a large dome. This was built during the Augustan period, which was the golden age of Rome. Triumphal arches were also constructed. A triumphal arch was a single arch made to remember and show pride for an event. The Arch of Titus commemorates the military capture of Jerusalem. The Romans eventually made their own additions to their architecture, with new materials and new designs later on. It was the Romans who mastered the use of concrete. This was a huge breakthrough in architecture. Arches, vaults, and domes were easier to construct with this new advancement, and Roman architecture was no longer restricted to stone and brick as used in the previous years. The concrete was usually made from lime mortar, water, sand, and volcanic earth. tough travertine brick, and other types of debris were also added to this mixture. The Tuscan column was also a new addition of the Romans. It was an adaptation of the traditional Greek Doric column. It was different from the Doric column in that it had no flutes. These new construction techniques were due to the ever-changing society and the needs of the Roman people.
This is amazing how the Romans clearly influenced today's architecture.
Now we are going to talk with Cleopatra, a woman pharaoh. Let's go to Michelle.
Our special guest today is a woman who's been stealing hearts since 69 BC and who's currently working on her second husband. Please welcome the last active pharaoh of Ptolemaic Egypt, Cleopatra.
Woo! Hello, everyone.
Cleo, I heard you're at the head of the Egyptian throne. It must have been such a challenging position for you.
Oh yeah, it was such a struggle to fight against my blood brother for the power. Ptolemy the 13th had no idea what was coming. When his advisors turned against me and forced me to flee, I was doubting that I'd ever steal back my well-deserved power. But, as we all know, this seductress has a few tricks up her sleeve. Today, Rome Center will feature an exclusive estate sale of Cleopatra's belongings. The highest bidder will receive these spectacular accessories worn and used by Cleo herself. This package includes 5 solid gold necklaces with pendants, a gold braided belt, the sweet fragrance she applied daily, her dramatic black eyeliner made from black coal, a colorful gem-filled bird pendant, 4 rings, including the ring rumored to have been given to her by her lover Julius Caesar, and her extravagant, most famous piece of all, a precious stone encrusted necklace.
And now back to the studio with Michelle and Cleopatra.
You're a female living in a male-dominated society. How did you ever expect to receive such respect and power?
Men think they have all the control when they really don't. As a woman, I managed to raise an army all on my own, out of mercenaries, and I seduced Julius Caesar to get exactly what I wanted.
How did Caesar help you reach your goal?
Caesar was my way back into my palace. He was so in love with me that he was willing to fight my brother in honor of me. Ptolemy the 13th fled and was eventually killed by Caesar's men. My throne was then restored.
But didn't you then have to share your power with your younger brother, Ptolemy the 14th?
Don't remind me.
All right then, back to Caesar.
Oh yes. So Julius then became the dictator of Rome, which allowed me to have a hand in not only Egypt, but also in Rome, since Julius always made sure to make me happy. But as you know, all good things come to an end.
Unfortunately, yes. My condolences for the loss of your husband. What a tragic way to go. It must be difficult for you, dealing with all these deaths.
Julius was assassinated. It happens. The only tragic part was that I lost control of Rome. But that was only temporary.
What do you mean?
A conflict began raging in Rome between a second triumvirate of Caesar's allies. His allies being Mark Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus, and his assassins, Brutus and Cassius. Of course, the bad guys lost.
That's great news.
Not so much. The Roman Empire was split. Mark took control of Egypt, and Augustus took Rome.
Speaking of Mark, is he a potential suitor?
Mark is married. Her name is Octavia. He only married her for diplomatic reasons. He just wanted to have peace with Octavian.
I'm sure he loves his wife.
No, not at all. He's in love with me, and we're the divine couple.
Divine?
Yes, I am the reincarnation of Isis, the beautiful goddess of fertility and motherhood, while Mark is the reincarnation of Dionysus, the god of wine.
Sure, you two are.
The prophecy says that Mark and I will rule Rome together, and it's true.
Let's see what the viewers think.
He simply wants to overthrow Rome, not to benefit it or its people.
He's a liar.
Breaking news. Rumors were spreading around Rome that Cleo had killed herself. In utter disbelief, Antony has fallen on his sword and died.
This cannot be true.
That's it for this edition of Rome Center.
I'm Alex Sargis.
I'm Nick Velez. Thanks, and see you tomorrow.